Hi everyone, it's Gene Calderon here with Gene Calderon Apologetics Ministries, going through our teaching series, looking at our daily themes, the themes that have different teachings, a focus on them that we continue to go through. And today being Friday, we like to focus on what we call Philosophy Friday. Philosophy Friday is really when we stop and take a look and really think about the way Christianity works. Does it make sense? There are some confusing aspects of it that I haven't really had a chance to think through. Maybe we can do that here. And that's what we're hoping to serve in that way, because there are some things that if we don't understand maybe some of the theology, maybe some of the writings, maybe there's something confusing us in many different factors. Well, we're trying to get through those barriers and help us have a more reasonable understanding of why we believe what we believe. And today I want to talk about something when it comes to the nature of God. When we understand that we need God's help in order to do something, which, think about it, that God himself in his own very nature never does. And that is to be able to surrender, to be able to suffer, to be able to submit, and even die to one's self. When we think about it, that was never in God's character to be submissive or to have to suffer or even to have to die. None of this naturally relates to God in any way. And that one road that leads us to God, when we think about it, we need his guidance, we need his help, is a road that up until recently, God himself never walked. He never experienced it. I know we usually think about God, he knows all things, he is all things, but there are some things we can talk about that God has never done or is unable to do, like lie or not exist or things like that. But one of the things we looked at is God can only share things that are that which is in his nature. And yet when we look about how do we talk about suffering and dying and surrendering when God himself doesn't have that within his nature? Well, that could easily be taken care of if God himself became a man. Then that person could help us. You see, as a man, he could then surrender his will. He could then suffer and die. And because he was man, he's able to do it perfectly because that man was also God in the flesh. Now, obviously, we're talking about the man, Jesus Christ, who was God in the flesh, born of a virgin, right? Died and rose again on the third day. But see, he also offers now, beginning at that time, some things that were not available before. And so it works retroactively for those who were waiting for the coming Messiah. And it also works for us as we look back to what the Messiah had actually done for us. You see, we wouldn't be able to share in God's dying unless God himself dies. Again, this is only in his human nature. We understand that in his spiritual nature, he could never die. And so he could not die unless he became man. And that is how he is able to offer us a way to pay our debts and to suffer for us, because he added on to his nature something that he didn't have at that moment when he was making these promises. But he had a plan. He knew he would have to send Jesus Christ in our stead. Now, some have argued that, well, if Jesus was God and man, then his sufferings and his death, that's really not as valuable anymore because it must have been easier for him to be able to do. And you know what? In a sense, you're probably right. You're probably right because Jesus, because he didn't have the sinful nature, was able to perfectly submit, was able to perfectly go through suffering and death. And so it was not only easier, but it's only possible because he was God. But then all of that would be really a strange reason for not accepting all that he's done for us. Because if it was easier for him, so what? It makes it easier for us to be able to reach out to him and accept it. You see, if any of us were drowning in a rapid river and a man who was still standing on the edge of that river, who has his foot on dry ground, leans over, reaches out his hand in order to save us, will we shout back and say, hey, that's not fair. You shouldn't be able to do that. You have an advantage over me because your foot is on solid ground. You see, it's in that advantage, which is the only reason why that person could be any help to us. What kind of help would we be willing to accept if it wasn't from a source that was stronger than us? If it wasn't from someone who had a better perspective or advantage in their position to be able to help us? What kind of help are we actually looking for then? And that becomes the thing. The thing that starts to swell up is pride. Pride is, no, I'm going to do this on my own. No, I can do this. No, I don't need your help because you're either more privileged, you have a better footing, you have a better understanding, and therefore, no, I want to do this on my own. You see, that's all pride. When God himself humbled himself so that he could reach us if we were humble enough to receive it. And so that's what the difference is in understanding who God is, what he was able to add on to himself, which maybe it was easier for Jesus to go through this. I don't think it was easy, but easier than someone who had the sinful nature to go through would be something we can look at, but it's not a reason to deny receiving the gift that he freely offers in salvation. And so let's consider that. Let's look at that and understand that even though we can look at this and say it's not fair, or it's not, why did he get to have an advantage over me? It still doesn't deny you the opportunity to be saved when he's reaching his hand out for us to be able to pull us closer to him and to be able to have that relationship that we so much desire. Again, the only reason we would reject it would be our own pride. So let's take that into heart and let's consider that as we reach out to God and understand that Jesus was able to lay down all of his life perfectly in the perfect submission to God the Father in order to save us if we're humble enough to receive it. I hope this blesses you. Thanks so much for watching. Again, I'm Gene Calderon, a local missionary here in Hammond, Indiana, working with Ratio Christi at Purdue University Northwest, reaching out to students to be able to answer their questions, give them reasons to understand why we believe what we believe, and also to minister to their classmates or people on campus that they might run into with reasonable and winsome answers that hopefully would draw them closer. I also serve at Freedom Church in East Chicago, Indiana, with Bible studies and opportunities to learn there, or anywhere here in Northwest Indiana, Chicagoland area with seminars, conferences, opportunities to just gather together and learn. So I hope you take advantage of those. These videos here on YouTube or Facebook, Twitter, Instagram, any one of those, you can look us up and we're here to serve. So God bless you. Thank you so much for watching and I hope to see you all soon. Take care.